Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Someday with me, Jay Barsky. I'm happy that you are listening to this episode. This is a special episode because this is the first unique guest I would say that I have, because my previous guests were guests that I had on my previous podcast, but this is the first unique guest that I'm having that hasn't been on the previous podcast. Hope that kind of made sense. A lot of podcast wording in there. So, my guest for this episode is a fellow comedian of mine and also someone that I consider a personal brother to me. His name is Nadeem Awad. Nadeem is a stand up comic in South Florida. I consider him a comedic mentor of mine. I've known Nadeem for over 2 decades. I can't say that about a lot of people that I've known that long. That's not a family member, but he's like family. I mean, he's like a brother to me. He's someone that's really helped me throughout my journey in stand up, and I just was so happy to have him as a guest on this new motivational comedy podcast that I'm starting. So you'll hear us talk about our journey in comedy a little bit. So we share some information about that. We talk about what motivates him, which is fun, and everything else in between. So thank you for listening to all of that. I hope you enjoy our episode with Nadeem Awad. All right, Nadeem Awad, what's up, man? How you doing?
Good, brother. How are you?
I'm great. I'm excited that you're joining me on this podcast, dude. I know we haven't really got a chance to like sit down and talk since I've got a chance to join comedy.
Welcome to the game, bro.
Yeah. I was talking to one guy named JJ Williamson, and he said that when I told him that I'm doing comedy, I've been doing it over a year now. He's like, "Welcome to the Matrix," and I was like, "I get it. Like, why? Like, I get it. It's a journey. Like, and I appreciate you introducing me to it too."
Oh yeah, for sure, brother. You know, it's if you have any interest in it, you know, we got a great scene down here, so it's a great place to start. South Florida in general, one of the best comics. Well, some of the top comics down here and come from South Florida.
Mm-hmm.
No matter if they claim New York now or LA, but they started here.
Oh yeah. No, I like this scene here, man. And I've only explored other places, but it's definitely like building up since like COVID started too. It started like small with a couple of bars, but now it's kind of like now I get a chance to explore different areas, and I like the journey. Like that's the fun part. But I did want to ask you, like, so how did you get into stand-up? Like, what really got you to starting doing comedy and starting that journey?
Well, I've always been interested in it, entertainment in general. I did, music early on, but I was always fascinated with stand up. My dad would always watch, Eddie Murphy, Richard Pryor was always on in the house,
Okay.
and Red Fox. So I watched a lot of those guys in that era, and I was always, glued to the TV watching those guys do their sets. And it was a different level of fame at that time. There was no YouTube, no Netflix, no none of that. So these guys were just just famous internationally just off their stand up and the films. But it took 32 years for me to finally get on stage. A series of events happened, in my life, from relationship wise, screwing things up with the girl I thought I was gonna marry, and then my old man got sick and passed, unfortunately, and then I lost my best friend not too far after that. So just, I had a talk with myself. I was like, what's going to happen? What's the worst that can happen if I go on stage and don't do what I always do? So I went up, and it went good for the first time, and I was like, I knew it. I have a gift from God. And then I went up after and just, so I had to learn how to write a joke. So there's no short answer to how I started, but it's as short as I can give it to you. Some dark stuff and some good stuff.
It takes a while to write some good stuff. Like anybody can just write something down, but actually write like stuff that's funny, like good enough to actually perform it. Like that takes like time to just like sit down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a process. You learn as you go, because some guys they can write everything out. That didn't work for me because it felt like I was trying to, almost like you're doing a monologue. I was trying it didn't come off natural for me. So my writing process is I'll come up with a premise, and then I'll just work it live, and then try to tag it up as I go. I'll record it and just trim the fat. So it takes me multiple times to try out a new joke before I get it to where I want it to be.
You're always giving me helpful advice on things for my stand-up, and one thing that's really helped me early is when you told me like it's all about conversation. Like you're having a. It took me a while to figure that out. Like just watching other comedians, especially just like bigger name comedians, and just like watching them closely and like how they're talking, kind of talking to the light.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not really you're talking to the light, and then that's kind of like that's how you're having that conversation. But that's how I figured it out. So.
You want to try to make a connection. Everyone has an act, but when you're just doing an act and powering through an act, and you're not really connecting with the audience, they can tell.
So you've actually, I guess, been doing stand up for 6 years.
6 years, yeah.
But you started doing it full time, like right.
It's been probably a year and like 4 months now.
Okay.
I've just been doing stand up, and that's it.
So what made you want to do that? Because it's a big leap, obviously. Like, not doing stand up full time. It's a journey. It's a full time. It's a different lifestyle. Like people don't realize. Mm-hmm. So what kind of like initiated you to do that? Start from doing stand up on the side to doing it full time.
Just if it's something that I know I'm going to be doing for the rest of my life, I don't want to be one of those guys that has part-time comic. There's just no way to do it. So I had some money set aside, and I took a trip last year to the mountains on the West Coast, did some hiking, kind of like did a little bit of a reset, and was like, all right, let's see what we got. And, just took it on with David Sadika. We're partners on a lot of the shows we produce. So it was good. We worked together well, but the money is definitely inconsistent. So when guys that are like a year or 2 years in that just jump in and say, I'm going to do this full time.
Yeah.
I'd say, bro, don't quit your day job, because it's tough. I mean, I'm going to have to go back to work soon enough just to put some money on the board and then go back and play the game again, because you can't really have a Monday through Friday if you're traveling and somebody goes, I need you on these dates, out in California or New York. Can't keep telling your boss that I need to take these 4 days off again, and so it's hard. But you try to find something that you can make some money on the side and still do the comedy at night.
Yeah, I even myself, like doing it part time, I need to take like resets. Like there's some nights where I'm like sometimes I'm inspired to like just make people laugh, and I like just going to comedy shows myself.
Yeah.
And just laughing myself, and I just learned just from like watching the shows. Mm-hmm. But there's like times when every night I'm doing something, like I'm either watching or doing an open mic or like checking out other multiple open mics, and I'll have like days when I'm inspired, but then like there's times where I just don't want to like go out at all. Like I don't know about you if this is how you feel sometimes, but like I don't want to even see people. I don't want to like entertain anybody. I just want to like think to myself and just have those resets.
Yeah, I felt like that a lot, but it's hard to feel like that when you can feel like that all you want, but when you have a list of dates and you have to be, you can't just call the club and say, hey, I'm not feeling it this weekend.
Yeah.
You can, but it's not going to be a good look for you. And
yeah.
It's going to be hard to get that call back. So it's hard to turn it on when you don't feel it, when you're not there in the right state of mind. But that's what makes us performers.
Yeah, true. I realize that it's like you're a performer. Like when you are about to perform, you have to have that certain image that people are expecting from you. Like you're that funny. And you're not always like, you have something serious going on. You're like, I don't want to talk to you. I got something going on. But it's like you're a performer. I think that's what you are. Mm-hmm. Like I realized that that's how it works.
Meditation, brother.
Yeah.
I take long walks and go for the run. Go for a run in the park, hit the beach. Try to get out of your own mind.
Well, it actually leads to my next question, because I mean, I do stuff to like escape out of. I mean, even though I love comedy, I like going to shows, I like watching stuff, listening to albums. Even there's times that I didn't want to get away like from comedy and like escape, and the podcast is for. But do you have other methods that you do like outside when you just want to get away from comedy?
Like I just said, I try to vibe, because I used to be on the go so much, and didn't take that time to like chill out, and I was always kind of like on the go, multiple jobs, and then trying to hustle in the rat race. Go out, have a couple drinks, wake up the next day, you're back doing it again. There was no chill time, so now every time I feel like there's nothing to do, like I have a day that's clear, I'll literally walk to the beach from my house,
Okay.
put some music on, chill, vibe, and just and if I have a few days or a week, I try to get out of town. It's easy to buy a flight, and everyone overthinks it. I've overthought it for a long time, and then all you do is plug that information and put your card through, and then you're in another state.
Yeah.
So get the hell out of here whenever you can.
Well, I'm big on road trips. That's kind of. I mean, I like one thing that's interested me in comedy is the road trips and journeys to other places. But that's one thing I like also, like relaxing, just like a good 8 hour road trip somewhere, man. And like coming from where we are, like you can get pretty far in like maybe 9, 10. You can get to Atlanta at least. I like Atlanta. But yeah, like road trips are nice.
The road's good. It's tough when you're doing stand up. You know, that's why I like to go with a group of comics. When you're by yourself on the road, you got a gig for 1 hour a night, and then you got that whole day to just kill time. And middle of nowhere most of the time is where I'm at, somewhere in Florida. All those places that you're like, what? I never heard of that place in Florida. All those places where the cops are filmed. That's where I played. I need to get a new agent.
So do you have any like major goals that you kind of see yourself doing in like comedy right now? Like any major tours that you want to start doing? Any clubs you want to start hitting up someday?
My focus right now, or for down the line, is I'm working on a new 45 minutes, and I want to eventually get something recorded as far as a special or maybe something on YouTube. And then I'd like to play towns where I've traveled to, like Montana, Wyoming, uh, Northern California, just places where I can go to the mountains, go to the beach, and play those gigs in cool towns where I could just rent a cabin and do some hiking and chill out. And it's a different vibe over there as opposed to like the big city and everyone just expects stand up and whatnot. I want to go somewhere where there isn't a comedy club and make a comedy venue there. Arizona, places like that. And there's clubs there, but I'm talking about like, the hipster parts, Flagstaff and Jackson Hole. And so what I'm saying is you're probably never going to see my tour. Like, where the hell is this guy playing? Bozeman, Montana? What the hell is going on here?
I would like to, on the side, maybe do like a national tour and just look at all these like small town places. I know we talked about like what's it called? VFW.
VFW, yeah.
VFW, like those are fun.
Yeah.
I could just like do a tour just doing like a lot of VFWs. Those are so fun.
Those are drinking holes. There's old vets yelling at you.
Well, the first one I did, I was like really scared because I was just like traveling around. It was just like found like a random flyer, and I never did a VFW. I just needed to knock the rep out, and like I'm seeing all these motorcyclists come in and all this stuff, and I'm like, oh god, I'm like, I don't know, like they're gonna find me funny. I don't know about my stuff, but like I go there and like did really well, and I was like, oh okay, like. It just got me more comfortable with like going anywhere and stuff like that. Because now I'm at a point like I can go anywhere. And I just feel comfortable. I'm gonna do well enough. You mentioned that earlier before that you were into music before you got into comedy. You know, this is kind of a topic. I don't know if too much people know about you about this, but like knowing you, I know about this, and it's always something I've always kind of like. Was always interested in talking to you about was when you were in a boy band.
Yeah, that happened.
How was that experience? Like, how old were you at the time? Was it like 13 or 14?
No, it was 15 when I started the group.
Okay.
I started with Josh Randall. Remember him?
I don't. I know Matt Burgundy.
Yeah, Matt was in there. and we there was four of us originally, and we started, and we didn't even have real vocal training. We're pretty much singing in unison. We're four decent looking guys, like good looking guys that could dance.
That's
and
how it works.
So the labels, saw us and they didn't give a shit if we could sing or not. We ended up getting a record deal when I was 17. So we would go to Orlando every weekend and train at a compound, and it was like these 10, 14 hour days where you're just doing choreography and vocal training and just sweating your ass off all day. They're just conditioning you, and they would give us a CD with 14 songs on it, and they'd say we'd like track 7 and 10 for you guys. Learn those songs, and I was writing songs at the time, so I didn't want to sing other people's songs, which kind of made me the other guys in the group they were kind of just doing whatever just to get on.
Yeah.
And I was paying for a lot of the stuff in Orlando. My manager owed me money at the time,
Oh, wow.
so I was the only one that had a job.
Yeah.
He never paid me back the money, so I got into it with him and the label, and they ended up they kicked the Arab guy and the Sicilian guy out. They kicked me and Matt out. They kicked Matt out first, and then it left me like the dude in the group with two blonde hair, blue eye guys, and then they put another guy in, Elgin, who also he does comedy down here now, but yeah, it ended up not working out. But they went to Germany for like 2 years, and I just did some songwriting stuff behind the scenes for a couple years, and that was really it. We're all still we're still friends. Josh and I are close. But two of them, Josh did stand up, and then Elgin did stand up. So it was all. That's the boy band story.
Yeah.
No Lou Pearlman.
I mean, I don't really have it now. I keep a shaved head, but I had like curly hair and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, and when like NSYNC and like Justin Timberlake, like
Yeah.
people kept calling me like Justin Timberlake.
Yeah.
I had the golden curls.
He had the golden curls. I used to get a perm. My buddy's grandmother would give me a perm. Then I would cut the big ringlet curls out, and then I would fade it on the sides and in the back. I looked like a little Jewish old lady for a couple years.
Oh man, no, I thought that was cool because like that's a cool lifestyle to live. Like Backstreet Boys still like perform and stuff. Man.
Yeah, but they got over the threshold. They made it, and then they made money. Like for me, it was just like I was paying, to go to Orlando, and the record deal was whatever. But
kind of was talking about like how you relieve some stress and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But you mentioned like meditation. So do you kind of practice
I
it?
do some meditation at the house, breathing exercises, different. I'll just look up on YouTube different variations of pranayama, some yoga stuff. I don't go to the studios. It's too intimidating, I like being the new guy, but eventually I'll go. I've done hot yoga in Santa Monica. I almost died like 40 minutes in. I was like, Jesus, this is brutal. But I give it up to the people that do that. It's definitely hardcore.
But so do you do like meditation, like sit down meditation practices, like just clearing your mind?
Yeah, I'll sit down or I'll lay down and just, make sure everything's quiet and just try to clear my mind. I do float tank. I've done that a bunch of times. I try to go at least once a month, twice a month sometimes. Self-deprecation.
Mm-hmm. I'm not familiar with I've heard of it, but what is it?
Not self-deprecation, deprivation. I'm thinking of the comedy, self-deprecation. I'm thinking of my act.
Yeah.
You've never done a float tank?
No, I've heard of it, but
so it's pretty much it's a big pod that you go into, and it's 10 inches of Epsom salt.
Okay.
It's pure Epsom salt, so you're gonna float, and you could hit the light, and it's pitch black in there. You can't hear anything, you can't see anything, and it kind of just supposed to just let go and kind of get out of your own mind, and it just feels like you're just floating in space. It's pretty unbelievable if you get used to it. It took me like 3-4 times to kind of get used to it because my mind's always racing.
Yeah.
Some people go in there and put on through the Bluetooth, put on music and whatnot.
Okay.
I just like to kind of see what's going on upstairs. And
yeah.
We'll have to go sometime.
That's the importance of silence. Like, I know like music's good distraction, and like I listen to other stuff besides music, but like you need that silence to like you said, focus upstairs, like your head. I mean, I get it, people, and I do it too, like to get away from your mind. You
Yeah.
listen to music, but like I now gotten to the point where I'm more comfortable with like just silence, listen to like outside and nature, because that's how you think of stuff. And I think of like bits too when I want to, but like you got, that's mental health that you got to take care of.
Listen to that intuition, brother.
Yeah. So as you know, this is it's a comedy, motivational comedy podcast. Something I'm new to, that I'm trying out, and I'm always curious of like what are practices of like my guests of like what helps motivate them. Like, do they do practices like you mentioned meditation? So what other practices that you do to like really kind of like motivate you, especially like with stand up, like just keep on going, just overcoming humps because it's hard. Like even like just throughout my journey, I've had situations with comedy where even I'm like, it's challenging. Like it is a journey because you come across these like certain challenges, like different, unique challenges. You're like, I've never been through this situation, but like you kind of like it's like either you keep going with it and try to find some kind like some way over it, or stop doing which you start seeing other people start like falling off and not doing because they've been through the same challenge as well. So what really helps you motivate you in that way?
You got to go up and just try new stuff, man. I try new stuff all the time, and this is when I first started. Mike Vecchione told me, even when you sometimes you're gonna, you know, you're gonna hit like writer's block, and you feel like nothing's coming to you, and you're not making any gains in the game. But Mike Vecchione told me that if you're not bombing, you're not taking any chances. You're not doing stand up. So I go up, and even most of the time when I feel like I don't want to do stand up at all, honestly, the most I can go is like a week without it. Something inside of me is just like you got to get back up, otherwise you're gonna suck. You're gonna be rusty. So that part of me just keeps me going. And there's comics that we got a strong scene around here. So I see some of the newer guys, younger guys, working. They're doing really well, and I watch their sets, and they inspire me. I'm like, dude, this guy got really good from the last time I seen him. So having guys around you that are strong is going to push you in another direction. So I keep myself around guys that are always working too to motivate me. Positive people too. Positive.
Well, you have to think positive, man. Like that's what I realized. Like especially doing like when I go up there, like that's what I always think positive. Like I always think, like they're gonna like me if I do my jokes right. But this is but I don't think when I'm going there, oh, this is gonna suck. Like the crowd's gonna suck. No,
they'll feel it if you go out there with your energy.
Yeah. Which when I go up there, I want to be positive. I want to make sure I'm filled with love when I'm up there.
Yeah.
And then like they'll find that if I'm authentic, like
it exudes, man. They'll feel it.
People can feel that realness, dude.
Yeah, it's a real thing. We're energy.
So, do you have like routine practices? It doesn't have to be like daily stuff, but like something like you like first thing you do when you wake up, or that you don't do that more, like something like that, or like especially with your like comedy when it comes to writing, do you like make sure you write every day, stuff like that?
No, I don't. I don't write every day. I do something comedy related every day, whether it's trying to reach out to a venue to book my own show, or David said, man, we meet up a lot, and just if we feel things aren't happening, we'll try to plan for the next tour. But I don't write every day. I don't like. There's a lot of guys that I have to write 2 hours a day, and I have to do it.
Yeah.
I don't like forcing it. I never liked homework. I never.
Yeah.
If something doesn't come to me that's natural.
Okay.
I'm not gonna watch the news and be like, oh, this is topical. Let's do this and write a new joke. I just don't like. I'm not that guy. If something happens and I feel like it's funny, then I'll work on it. But I don't force my jokes. I've tried it and it doesn't work. I end up trashing those jokes. So.
Well, so before I really got into doing stand up, I listened to like a lot of podcasts, like comedy stand up podcasts, and that's all and even getting into stand up, that's all I'm hearing like advice is write every day. You gotta write every day, and like myself, I was like, I don't feel it coming. Like sometimes I'll have a spurt, like I'll hear one word from like a comedy album, or like maybe a bit that's like some wording that I'm missing, like a bit that I'm stuck. It's like and I'm working on a bit, and it's a puzzle. I gotta figure out the wording. I gotta like play around, and I'm having there's a couple of missing pieces, and you kind of have to find like go out and do other stuff to finally like come to you, like
Yeah.
thinking to your meditation and
Yeah.
stuff. It'll come to you, but you can't force that like artwork, dude.
Yeah. There's no rules to stand up, dude.
Yeah.
It's like everyone wants to create these whole things. Read this book. Do this. Do that.
Yeah.
You could take an improv class, and some of the teachers there are great, but they're not going to make you successful. You have to find your own voice and find what works for you, your own process.
Yeah.
They'll get you on the right path, and then
Yeah.
you got to find your own voice. So you can go the YouTube route. You can make videos. You can do reels. You can do stand up and never leave your house. You can just do funny videos.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, you're selling out clubs because you got a million followers. Or you can do it, hit the road like the road comics, and hit the club circuit, hit open mics 7 days a week.
Well, that's kind of what really pulled me to. I mean, besides we've had conversations that you got me interested into it. And I do want to mention I've always known first heard about you doing stand up and it's always kind of interested me. Like I've always grown up watching stand up and stuff. I loved Comic View growing up.
That was great. Comic View in the 90s was really good.
Yeah, Comic View. Just comedy. I grew up watching Comedy Central, but I never was oh, I'm gonna do that. And it kind of just knowing you, and I know we have a similar characteristic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm I kind of it kind of just was a little seed in my head, and then I came back, and then that was my when I first saw you after a long time and seeing you, it kind of really got me thinking more about it, and then I finally started doing it. So and yeah, it's about people will like you more if you are as most unique as you are.
Be yourself.
Yeah, if you're the person, and it takes a while to find your voice up there too. That's the thing. It's you can't just go up there, and maybe some people have that can do it, just be as authentic as the first time up. But I mean, as for thinking stuff funny and interesting, wording wise.
What makes you interesting? Nobody can tell your story. You're the only one that can tell your story.
Yeah.
So that's why I watch these guys. Brad Ernst is a good friend of mine, and he's just one of the best comics to do it, and he's one of the best storytellers in the game. And he just goes up there and he's himself, and he has the whole place tuned in. He's 25 years in the game, but he's just literally himself the whole time, and he controls the room for an hour, 20 minutes.
I'm glad you mentioned about the finding your voice, because that's something I've learned really early that I don't think too much people focus right away. It's just they probably want to make people laugh and this is fun. But it's no, you gotta, which is life, dude. You gotta find yourself, find out what you like talking about. What are you passionate about talking?
Yeah.
And people will gravitate towards that.
Yeah, they say it takes 7 years to find your voice, so I'm coming up on 7, so I got to figure it out soon.
Well, are you working on anything major that listeners should probably keep an eye out for?
We have we're gonna probably we're setting up the next Happy Habibis comedy tour. David Sadman and I. We don't know what cities we're gonna go to next, but that's in the works. I'm going to do my own show again at the Palm Beach Improv, Nadeem Awad and Friends, November 9th. This is the first it's being said publicly. Okay. I haven't announced it online yet, but yeah, we had almost 400 in there last year, and I want to move. Nice. I want to move the curtain this year and hopefully get the whole thing packed out. So it was a really fun time. We got DJ Johnny Quest going to be there again, and I'll announce the lineup in the next week or two. So looking forward to that, close the year out strong.
I like how you open it up with the DJ, because it's always, I like seeing a comedy show when it's a DJ, a party started.
Yeah.
That just gets everyone going, man.
Yeah, amped up.
But, and also think intro music is important, dude.
Intro music's really big.
Oh, man. If I go to do a mic that has a DJ and stuff, I specifically ask hey, can you play? Even if it's intro music's like can be 10 seconds, 10, 12. That's about
Yeah.
that good like intro music. Unless you're dancing, then you can like buy some.
Yeah.
Since we're wrapping up, any final words you want to leave our listeners to like help them in pursuing their dreams and having their someday in their lives?
As far as comedy goes, if you want to do stand up, get up on stage as much as you can, and always record. I record every time I'm on stage. I hit the record on my cell phone.
Mm-hmm.
If you can record a video, that's even better, so you can see your act outs and your mannerisms on stage. But yeah, I used to get out every night for years, 7 nights a week. If I could get up twice a night, that'd be great. I needed to practice, so the more you get up, the better you're gonna get. Unless you're really bad.
Yeah.
Just suggest everyone just get up as much as you can and record your sets. So and don't listen to other people, because if I listen to anybody, when I started the boy band, everyone told me that I was crazy, and then we had a record deal, and everybody wanted to come to the shows. I told them I was doing stand up at 32. People laughed at me, not in a good way.
Yeah.
And now they want tickets to the show.
Yeah.
Like, it's just negative people. I got a lot of support in the city, but I don't listen to people anymore from negative people, from friends to family. Oh, you're too old to start something new. It's like, all right, well, enjoy your 9 to 5 at your cubicle.
Yeah.
I'll see you
Yeah.
on the best beaches of the world and the best, the coolest states.
Yeah.
So follow your heart, man.
All right, well, Nadeem Awad, thank you so much for joining me, man. It's such a pleasure. I appreciate you doing this on the Someday with Jay Barsky podcast.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate you having me, man. Hopefully you got something there. Just edit out about 90% of what we talked about.
Cool. But yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, brother. Best of luck.
All right, so thank you for listening to that episode with Nadeem Awad. It was fun chatting with him, as you can hear us laugh and have a little bit of fun on that interview. So I hope you enjoyed it. If you want to follow him on all his socials, you can just find it in the episode notes. Please rate and comment on the podcast, and that's how it will grow and expand to help others have their someday in their lives. If you wish to follow me, all my socials are at I am Jay Barsky. Thank you for listening to this podcast, and I'll see you soon.